Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this supporting growth session. And this growth session is all about understanding what is growth to you. Now, I can understand it sounds like the simplest question, but I want to talk about the power of what getting it right really brings, as well as perhaps some of the hidden costs when we can't answer that question clearly. Now, every month I run the supporting growth sessions to support founders to ensure that you are able to run your business with joy and that passion that you have in a seamless growth path that is possible. And looking into January 2026, what better question to ask as we're looking into this fantastic year and understanding what is growth to you. Now, even if you've downloaded it at a later stage, it's still one of the most important questions to ask and answer as a founder. The reason why I say it's January, well, a lot happens over the festive period, a lot of ideas come about, perhaps new opportunities, and certainly a lot of voices probably telling us how to run and improve our businesses in the new year. So what happens and why is the question, what is growth to you, so important? Well, your business is growing, regardless of whether you can answer that question or not. Halfway through January or halfway through the year, perhaps it feels like it's a little heavy. And sometimes that happens not because you're not passionate about what you do and that you don't love your business and believe in your vision. It's because without clarity, opportunities are clashing. We're trying to fight those decisions that need to be made on so many things. And perhaps we've suddenly become the center of our businesses with people needing answers to questions. And it's amazing to think that being able to answer the question, what is growth to you, in a particular way, will really provide clarity and, most important, a more seamless, efficient path for you to travel. And that's exactly what we set out to do as founders, to really create this seamless path. Now, for those of you who've done a few Wyseminds course, you'll be very familiar with this picture, your vision in the foreground and the two guardrails of purpose and values and financial success supporting you there. A really important image as you're looking towards the vision. And what is growth to you is the question that's going to aim to get you on that seamless path. So without further ado, let's begin. The most important thing, as we know, is before we move on, let's understand where we are. So I want you to reflect or grab a piece of paper and a pen or whatever you've turned up with this download with, and finish the answer to the following question. Right now, growth feels. Now, there's no right or wrong answer. If it feels heavy, put heavy, excited. I mean, you might be just beginning a new program of opportunities and it feels exciting. My word at the moment is curious. I'm under no illusion that this word wouldn't change on a daily, weekly basis with every founder on the roller coaster. But for this moment, I want you to think about what growth feels to you. Unclear, stuck, as I said, heavy, excited. Think of that word, write it down, circle it, and we're going to come back to that question. I'll give you just a small moment to really reflect. Growth feels. Okay, circle it, just put it to one side. Our aim at the end of this session is to either make the word directional if it's been excited and give it more power, or solve some of the problems if you're feeling heavy, stuck, or just that little bit frustrated with the growth of your business so far. Okay, let's begin. I want to begin by talking about some of the hidden costs of not knowing the answer to that question. And I want us to just briefly imagine that we're in a group of our friends and family at home. And you have this vision that you would like to go on an exploration journey with your family and your friends. Now, even at this moment, you announce, let's go and explore. Every single person in that room will have a completely different view of that word exploring. Some want to explore the world by visiting different countries, different parts of the world, continents. Some would like to explore their backyard. Some wants to learn historical or just to experience certain things from around the world, different cultures. And every single person has a different viewpoint of what exploring means for them. And it's exactly the same with growth. So if you can imagine that you've just asked your family and friends without a clear direction, and you turn up at the airport, you could be finding yourself on different planes. So understanding, even in this very familiar, let's decide where we're going to go on holiday question, can begin to add in pressure. And on top of that, when we haven't defined it for ourselves, we add in another dynamic, and that's the external world, our markets, people, viewpoints from family and friends. And of course, when we're exploring, we have these endless books, these endless bucket books that we look on somebody else's viewpoint of what exploring the world is. Now, in order to gain clarity to what it is to you, you can understand, even from the example on travel and exploring, the hidden costs of not clarifying right at the beginning what exploring is to your group. And it's exactly the same with growing your business. If you don't have a sort of definition, you'll end up living somebody else's. And perhaps it's confused, no map, going around in circles, or just reading endless bucket books about deciding where you're going to go. And this is one of the very first steps to making sure that growth is clear to you as the founder and leader of your business. Don't get me wrong, every viewpoint, every opinion or things like this is important. But it's important when you're using it to build your path, your growth journey. And that's what will give it power, and the clarity will make it efficient and seamless. So I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination to ignore others, but you just need to know what you're building those comments into. So that's a lot about what today's about. And there are hidden costs. I understand that when there is lack of clarity, that we have this very powerful negative emotion of imposter syndrome. We start to look at what others are doing. We start to interpret the headlines of our industry, of being a founder. You know, I made £7 million overnight when I closed my eyes and woke up and there it was. Of course, we know deep down it is impossible. The story will never tell the roller coaster of the ups and the downs and the questions that founder has asked, like, am I still doing it? Why am I doing it? So understanding the clarity enables us to grow confident in what we're doing, so that the stories that we read, the things that we hear, we know what to take in order to power our journey and not distract off our path towards the vision and the things that we want to change. Understanding what to listen to in what way is very important. Using headlines for the greatest opportunity. It's also important as a leadership test. Knowing where you're going in terms of growth isn't necessary for you. It's a leadership test. So ask yourself now with your team, and if you don't have a team, bring in your families and friends. Actually, in the initial stage, family and friends are probably one of the most important team members that you have. Bring them into the room and ask yourself, if I asked those people a question, what is growth to me? What is growth to this business? Would they all think the same? And if you don't have a team at all and you're just looking for yourself, your customers are a part of your team. Perhaps you have suppliers. Do they understand the direction and the value of what you want to be putting out there during the year? And for yourself personally, the most important leadership of all is leading yourself. And that begins with knowing the direction that you are going in. Having that map for clarity, for confidence, and of course, for effective leadership. Of course, there are so many books on leadership out there. But the very first step, as I say to all the founders I speak to, you lead yourself first, your values, your purpose, your vision, and understand the direction. Because this is what's going to enable you to hear the valuable input from others to power your path and not direct it. So there is a leadership obligation to understanding that question. And at the end of the day, as I said at the beginning, the power of clarity is a filter. It filters the opportunities, it filters the people's conversation, and it enables you to extract what you need to power that journey, make it more efficient, but to thank and put aside that will not serve you. And this is what makes it so important. Clarity doesn't make growth bigger. It actually makes growth possible. So have that moment with your leadership test. Would somebody be able to define what the growth direction is for you and for your business? And the most important thing, if you have a team, would they understand how they contribute towards making that growth successful? So a little bit of a leadership test. I want to talk about why that's most important. Now, when I ask founders what is growth to them when they first come for a conversation, I will guarantee that 90% of founders will talk about sales, we'll talk about success, we'll talk about profit, number of customers, followers, and other metrics that are, of course, very important. We saw that picture at the beginning with the guardrail of financial success. Absolutely essential. I know there's an age-old phrase which says money makes the world go round. I don't want to be too arrogant, but I am going to question that phrase. It's value that makes the world go round. It's the value that you put out there in your certain way towards your vision that will power a greater success and money. So in terms of business, of course, money makes the world go round, but it's powered by value. So when we're talking about what growth means to us, these abstract viewpoints of sales or increase in customers can actually be a detriment to what we're trying to do. Because when we're talking about what growth means to us, Sales, record sales, and customers number increase is an outcome. And that's hanging our goals on hope and wishful thinking. So the very first aspect we want to be doing is defining what growth means to us. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing and breaking it down. In fact, this is a big part of my story. I think when I was opening a brand in Northern Europe during the Great Recession, of course, there was so much pressure laid on it that we worked to record sales weeks all of the time. But what happened when we didn't achieve a record sales week? What happens when we didn't achieve that record number of customers coming through the door? Well, it was disappointment. In fact, we only succeeded 3 weeks out of 52. You know the thing I did immediately? Changed into value, changed what we measured and changed what were metrics. Of course, the metrics are important. Financial, money is needed there. Cash is king, especially for new startups. But the most important thing I did was for the business was to change what we measured and we defined as growth. And we defined it as the likelihood for that customer to come back in 2 years' time. And boy, well, you can read my story on the website, but it turned out in terms of putting us in position for a market leadership, which was absolutely a fantastic result. So understanding what we mean by growth has also a motivational connection effect for others. And sales numbers, revenue targets, headcount, this is all important. But growth is not bigger for the sake of being bigger. It's about putting the right volume out there in order that you can succeed in what you want to do. And of course, I've grabbed this from our Financial Profit First course. But it is about, you can see this vision at the top with the founder coming through and see how you've got value first. What value am I going to put out to the marketplace, which will result in this amount of revenue? And that's exactly one of our very first steps to doing it. So metrics, very, very important. Purpose, values, very important. Looking towards that vision. At Wyseminds, we look at the definition of growth in 3 lenses. They're not 3 separate lenses, they're interconnected. And together, they result in what is the greatest, most aligned value I can put out there in line with that vision. And therefore, money and success is an outcome. So let's talk a little bit about those 3 lenses. As I said, they're not separate. Lens number 1 is, well, we always talk founder first at Wyseminds, is the founder and your business concept. It's the first picture that you should be looking at on a regular basis. Again, comes from my story where, you know, I didn't know the patterns of business growth. And businesses grow in a series of waves. And those patterns are known. But the most important thing, even without knowing those patterns, is understanding where you sit as a founder. Where are you positioning yourself? So the very first thing you need to be doing is saying, right, what is the business concept? Does it still stand? And where do I have to position myself as a founder in order to lead that coming forward? The other questions about founder are about joy and passion. So understanding that founder and that position is number 1. We'll talk about that in a minute. Lens number 2, directly to the customer, the person that is closest to you. I, the founder, do this for you, the customer, because you have this problem. And I know a lot of people like to put problem first, but to me, it's the relationship with the customer. Who are you doing it for? Question: are you still making them the hero of their story? Now, I know as founders, we've started this business because we're truly passionate about knowing that we can do something that makes something better. Just make sure it's that something better for the customer. Are you making a difference to their life? Of course, being a founder, there's a hero or heroine about it, of course, but make sure it's the customer that is the hero heroine of their story, that you are changing their life. Lens number 3 is, now you've positioned yourself, had a look at that picture, and also looked at the value that you're going to be giving the customer. How are you supporting it? So if you're moving here, how do you solve the area here? How do you get that area that you built fantastically? How is that still being led? Resources, operational processes, are they efficient? Are they ensuring that our customer, every customer, has exactly the same experience every single time to the vision that you are trying to create? And this is the priceless part of, can you live it every day? Now, of course, it doesn't all have to be done at once. So at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about how you break that down. These lenses work together. And understanding growth starts with understanding the value that these lenses can give you. Just reiterate, growth number 1. Have a little thought as we're going through it. The founder and your business concept. What do you see yourself doing? Are they the things you want to do, or are there things that you don't need anymore? What do you take with you and what do you leave behind? How will your concept evolve in time? What's the big picture for your company that's going forward? And what are the ideas and the products that you want to introduce? What are those thoughts? I'll give you examples. At Wyseminds, we've built this learning platform, but the concept needs to be taken in a different direction. So we've got the YouTube channel, we've got the wall. These are ways of making the concept come alive, not marketing messages, concept. How do I then lead the new concepts and build upon the platform that we built? And these are very important questions that you have to answer without over-engineering lens number 2. I have a story about that as well. And of course, if you ever join the Liftoff work group, I will be telling you about that as well. Your customer and the value that you bring them, without giving them things they don't need. You don't give more presents to make somebody love you more. You get the gift right to begin with. And this is all a part of the research. What have you learned from last year? Where are you going? What's the metrics? What's your purpose measure telling you? How are you best supporting that customer's needs? How have you expanded or strengthened, that market presence? What other people are doing? That's also important. And what's the experience that your customer is getting now that may have to be better? Or is it enough as it stands today? Lens number 2, your customer. Lens number 3, how do you support it? We can have all the ideas in the world, but if we're trying to get onto this new growth wave or this new period of growth, how do we support that change, particularly with the customer experience? Starting from you, the founder, how do you ensure that every single part of the process or person who's involved in the process is delivering that unique moment for that customer, that they don't just go, oh yeah, that was really nice. They tell 100 people. That's the journey when you're really clear. Operational processes, teams. I can hear what you're saying now. Well, we don't all have money growing on trees. I'm going to come on to that in just that moment. But if you are looking towards growth, how do you support that? How do you support to get it right? And sometimes that means, what will you no longer take with you? And it can be products, It can be also suppliers and people. And how do you move that forward in order to get that growth that you want? The most important thing is the connection of those three lenses. Okay, we know it's not all delivered at once. So at Wyseminds, what we try and do is trying to create a bigger picture and then breaking it down. Where do I want to be in 6 months, 12 months? Now, I've put 3 years here because at Wyseminds, we work with vision for 3 years for making a difference in a 3-year period. But you can also take 18 months or 2 years and decide what's that part that you're able to look forward towards. And then you're going to break it down 6 months and 12 months and whatever statement timescale that you've made at the end. Each area of the part. Start at the top, founder first, concept. Where do you move yourself to in say 18 months, 2 years? And how do you work yourself back to enable that to happen? Why is founder the most important thing? Well, I'll go back to my story of growing the brand when I didn't let go and I didn't plan and I was holding on. I hadn't evolved myself. And so I was sinking between the two waves, holding on to the old growth wave, and the actual new growth wave was coming forward and slapping me in the back of the head. Of course, growth has never felt so heavy. So now on a 6-month basis, I'll always make myself redundant from Wyseminds and reposition myself back in. And that's exactly what this is asking you to do. Each growth wave requires something different for you as a founder, and it has to be planned for. What are you going to let go? What do you take forward? Who do you need? And how do you plan for that to make happen? Founder first. Then move down towards your customer. If you want this, how do you break it down? How do you keep experience going 6 months, 12 months, 18, 2 years, whatever you've come up with there. So at the end, how will you support it? I know it's hard to say for a founder. Try not to worry about the costs coming in. Knowing what you can plan for is the start of a budget, and that's for another time. Or if you're on the courses, it's the financial success one, the one that helps you to budget for that journey you want to have. But for this moment, getting a clarity, even in small steps, is absolutely essential. When you start filling out that 6 months, let's go back to the word that you wrote at the beginning. Has that word changed? Do you feel it can change? Growth to me right now feels. When you have a look at your 6 months and 12 months, and I'm hoping that as you're filling out that sheet, it feels that little bit clearer. You don't need to know the answer to every single question. You need to understand the clarity, and from the clarity, you can begin to plan more effectively. And this is the most important thing. Clarity acts as a filter towards your vision, guarded by your purpose and your values and your financial guardrail on the right-hand side. So I'm hoping that that has moved it forward. I wanted to show you a little bit. This is Wyseminds Growth. I use 3 years. This is the vision newsletter. And using this process of 6 to 12 to 3 months, this is my 3-year vision. And having that clarity helps both me, the team, and suppliers that quite often I may not meet understand the direction that we're moving into. And from this 3 years, I've come back and used 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and of course, the 3-year direction. This clarity ensures that I understand how to take the right advice and power it into my path. So when you're looking at it, what is growth to you? Hopefully, I've begun to support you into asking that question more clearly. Now, you're all members of the Wyseminds platform. If you're a member of the free membership, I really strongly advise you to be doing the Get Your Story Straight, because that helps bring this picture that you're looking on the screen now really to life. And if you are a paid member, well, congratulations. I hope you're enjoying it. But starting off with growth begins with you as a founder could be an important next step. And of course, the Learning Bite Vision newsletter is live and on the platform. And you too can create this beautiful vision and clear vision, more importantly, of 3 years. And that will help this plan really begin to come to life. Well, I wish you a successful journey, and hopefully I will be seeing you on the Your Journey platform or in the community. Big thank you for downloading, and I hope that you found it useful. Take care.